This is Stan Freberg. In regard to the God is dead business, unthinkable as the thought is, some guys at Yale or someplace kept mentioning it. Normally, I wouldn't have bothered. I mean, who am I to rise to the defense of God? But then I saw this thing on the cover of Time, and it was like a friend of mine had been attacked. I really had planned to do something else for the second series of the Presbyterian spots, but how can you talk about God if some people are going around questioning if he's even alive? So while it's been pretty well covered from the pulpit, I felt that somebody should say something out here in the so-called mass media for the benefit of those people who might have been tied up the last couple of Easter Sundays. You know? So anyhow, we might call this phase 1.5. Now, I know that while a lot of you professional theologians would just as soon not hear anything more on the God is dead thing, my feeling is that you're running about 2 years ahead of the layman, so that just about the time you're sick and tired of it and figure it's all blown over, the whole issue is just beginning to sink into the consciousness of ordinary people, especially young people, the kind we're trying to reach with these radio messages. The first set of spots, which I did for you, you may remember, attempted to communicate some thoughts about God in a contemporary way using today's language and music. To make that come off creatively was a challenge I did not enter into lightly, believe me. To have it come off at all and to have them accepted to the phenomenal extent that they were by the people who run the radio business, and finally to have them accepted by the church, well, that to me was a major miracle. As I have said, I went into that original project with considerable reluctance. I felt like the man who attempted to walk a high wire across Niagara Falls in a stiff gale with no bamboo pole and somehow made it to the other side alive. But now, instead of being allowed to spend the rest of my days doing some nice, safe work for the Lord on solid ground, the Presbyterian said to me, "Okay, Freberg, that was a pretty good trick, but now we want you to go back out on the wire, blindfolded, and walking backwards to the other side." Now, satire at best is a perilous journey. I mean, you're always on some kind of a wire. It isn't that I haven't worked without a net before, but I would like to say it's the first time I've gone across the wire at these particular altitudes, carrying the Presbyterians on my back, with rented ballet slippers, and not only that, but somebody stole my rosin. So if satire is normally a perilous acrobatic feat, this is really an act that Lloyd's of London wouldn't touch with a 20-foot premium. But anyhow, I didn't really have a choice. I was committed, and so was the United Presbyterian Church. What we wanted to do was to get closer to the heart of the gospel, to talk about how God loves everybody, the hippie out here in the Sunset Strip, ordinary people, even the guys who say he's dead, to talk about the grace of God and defend the fact that he is very much alive, and still hold on to the mass audience in prime time. Well, good luck to us, is what I say. That's what we've started to do now in these new spots, perhaps stage 1.5, as I said. Now, about stage 2, where are those spots? Is that what we see there in your other hand, you ask? No, I'm afraid not. No, these are Gelucel tablets. That's because in addition to continuing this precarious journey in radio, I've agreed to help project our rather unorthodox ministry into television. The first couple of spots are already done, and I'm working on more. It's plenty precarious for us, all right, up here in this wire, but then nobody ever promised that doing the Lord's work would ever be either safe or easy. Meanwhile, I hope these 3 new radio spots prove to be meaningful in your community. Remember the last time we were talking, I said I couldn't make it to church that Sunday because of one thing and another, and you said, how about 2 weeks from Sunday?
Oh, yeah.
And I said, 2 weeks? I never planned that far ahead. The whole world could blow up by then, and you said, that's right. Remember?
Uh-huh.
So anyhow, I've been thinking it over all this time, and I decided I was going to drop by church to just, see what's happening. I mean, what could it hurt,
Mm-hmm.
Well, but then I heard he was dead.
What?
I heard God is dead, so there wouldn't seem to be too much point in bothering.
You're pretty sure about that, are you, that God is dead?
Well, of course I'm sure. I mean, that's what people are saying. God is dead, and that's that. There's no point in pursuing it any further. I mean, fact is fact. If all the people who are smarter than I am say God is dead, then who am I to question it, right? I mean, there's just no point in questioning it. Yeah.
Well, then why do you keep flipping through that Bible?
The proceeding was presented by the United Presbyterian Church.
What do you mean he's dead?
I mean, he's dead.
Not literally.
That's the rumor. God is dead. That's what everybody says.
Well, who's everybody?
Well, everybody. A guy on David Susskind, a couple of guys at Yale, everybody.
Yeah, well, that's everybody, all right. You wouldn't want to question it any deeper than that.
Besides, it doesn't bother me one way or the other. I mean, it's just not relevant.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I never think about God one way or the other particularly.
Uh-huh.
Well, sure, I think about him, but it doesn't bother me. I mean, I don't know what you're making such a big thing about it.
Well, the important thing is that you're able to get along perfectly well without him, that you have no real need for God's love, right?
Yeah. Anyway, he just probably loves the people who still believe he's alive, right?
I'll tell you something. You know the guys who started the rumor that God was dead?
Yeah?
He loves them just as much.
No kidding?
That's right.
Say, that's some God.
The proceeding was presented by the United Presbyterian Church.
So the point is, I'm not saying he's alive, and I'm not saying he isn't. It's just that even if I thought he was, my life is pretty full without any divine... Say, can I get you a drink?
No, thanks.
After all, I get 2 air-conditioned cars, color TV, 8mm camera with a zoom lens, and then I got the boat.
How often do you get down to your boat?
Oh, regularly. Well, I haven't been able to get down for about 5-6 months now, but one of these weekends, the wife and I are going to get down there, right, baby?
Yeah.
Now, look, Harriet, I'm trying to talk to the man here.
You want to do me a favor? Why don't you stop with all that?
Look, I'm trying to explain how our lives are very full, so don't start.
Listen, I'm sorry I brought it up. I can see your life is very full.
You bet it's full. We get along perfectly well, thank you, without God.
Right. Just checking.
The proceeding was presented by the United Presbyterian Church.